Okay, here we are again. This one's called When is a Tarot Reading Not a Tarot Reading? And I'll get to it in a moment, because first, a few days ago I read an article and the author said that it's our vision and not our thoughts that determine the amount of power that we have, or what we experience in life, or past as well as the present and the future. And this is because if you look at your life or look at people, and all you see is depression and things going wrong, that's the kind of life that you're going to have. So the author made the point about the importance of setting your sights high and looking up, looking into the distance and looking with vision. And where is your vision focused? And if you have it focused on the highest that you can achieve, then you're going to have a much better, more successful, more interesting life. And I thought, that's the Fool in the Rider deck, and there's the Fool. Okay, and you see the Fool's looking up. All right, so this is one of the reasons that I like the Rider deck in particular, because it's kind of more programmable, right? You can, if I took a look at the Robin Wood deck, and it's nice, but the Fool is looking straight ahead and playing a flute. So the idea of the importance of where your vision is, where your focus is, can be seen with the Rider deck, but it can't be seen as well or as easily or as obviously with other decks. And so that's one of the reasons, or the main reason I like the Rider deck, is because it cooperates with what you're coming across in your life, or what you're reading about, or ideas that you have, and you can incorporate your own insight into the Rider deck, or into the illustrations in the Rider deck. So when is a tarot reading not a tarot reading? What I want to do is think of a problem that you've got, or a situation you're not quite sure how to deal with, and I'm going to pick a card, and then I'm going to tell you the answer, right, based on the card. So you may need to pause for a minute. Okay, so I've shuffled, and this is the card. I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'll show you what the card is. So this should be visible, okay. So with your problem, step back and think it through first. And maybe think to yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I do nothing? Because there's no pressure to actually do something. I could go on, but I've got a time limit. So the card that I got for you to give that kind of answer was this one. And you can see it's one of the blank cards you get when you buy the Rider deck. So I wasn't trying to trick you, but it was more, I was thinking of a motto, and the motto is look before you leap. And that's good advice, right? So by thinking of look before you leap and relating it to somebody's question, I can give you good, sensible suggestions on what to do. But the thing is, I could have chosen another motto, and there's one which says, I can't remember it, or he who hesitates is lost, which is the exact opposite of look before you leap. So if my motto had been, or my main thinking had been, he who hesitates is lost, I would have said, you know, you have to do something. You've been thinking about it long enough. You've been putting it off for long enough. Now is the time to strike while the iron is hot. Okay, so look before you leap, and he who hesitates is lost. That's good advice for anybody. And that's the kind of advice you might get from a tarot reading, but it's really not a tarot reading, is what I want to say. So I think the tarot can be and is more specific than that. The problem, or not the problem, but the thing is, even if you don't do much, you've still got friends, loved ones, maybe children, you've got a job, you've got health problems, you've got money worries, you've got hopes and wishes, and you want to go places and you want to travel, and you've got plans. But these are very many different areas of life, and you're not equally concerned about every area to the same extent every day, all day. Because today you're worried about, or you're concerned about, let's say, health, whereas 3 days from now, you're not that bothered about health, but maybe you're more concerned about something that's happening at work. So Mottos can be good and they can be fine and they can be giving you good advice. But the tarot is better because it's more specific. So you shuffle, you pick a card, and the card that comes up is going to give you important information to answer that particular question that you've got on that particular day. And I think that's one of the main values of the tarot is that it's specific and it's particular. So somebody may want to know, I've got a card here. Somebody may want to know, okay, how can I get promotion? Right? So let's say you shuffle and you pick a card and you get the Three of Cups, but it's upside down. So a lot of people would say, are you sure you really want to ask about promotion? Because I'm looking at this card and I'm seeing that you're not getting along with your husband or wife or boyfriend. And the thing is, even if you're happily married, if somebody asks you that question, we can always think of something we don't like about, or some habit, or some little behaviour that we're not that keen about with our husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, even though we don't actually care that much. But when somebody says, is there something you would like to change about the relationship, we can always come up with something. So the Three of Cups reversed, do you have a problem with your relationship, seems to be answering a question you hadn't thought of. But I think it's not the answer. Because if you want to know, how am I going to get promotion? And the Three of Cups comes up, it means look at your relationships with other people at work. Because you asked about work and getting promotion, and it may be with the Three of Cups upside down, you're not as friendly as you think you are. Or you're not as loving and giving as you think you are. So maybe you insult people in a kind of joshing, way that people do. They insult people and, they point out their flaws, but it's kind of joking. So you may think you're joking, but other people think you're serious and other people think you're insulting. So with the Three of Cups reversed, for instance, coming up, how do I get promotion? Yes, look at relationships, but not with your husband or wife. Don't you, the reader, change the subject. If the person wants to know about work, the card that comes up is going to tell you about work. Even if you don't understand it or don't see the connection, it's not about you, it's about the questioner. So if the person wants to know, how are they going to get promotion, and this card comes up, answer the question, I think. And you're going to get, it's more like a tarot reading rather than just good advice. So let's say somebody wants to know, how am I going to get promotion? And we get the Hermit. A few years ago, I wrote this tarot book called The Tarot, Our Guide on the Open Road, and last week I put it on the Kindle. So if you're interested, take a look at the Kindle version. But the reason I mentioned the Hermit is I had to reread the book, and it's really good, I have to say. But I've got various quotes, and one that relates to the Hermit is Epictetus, this Greek philosopher, said, wisdom itself is not enough. You sort of look at the Hermit and think, this is a wise individual. But Epictetus said, wisdom itself is not enough. A man needs a certain degree of readiness. So how am I going to get promotion? And the Hermit comes up. Maybe you're going to find an older individual who can help you. Or maybe you're going to act like or think like somebody who's old and wise and has experience. Right? Because young people, when you're 15 or 20 or 25, you think you're immune, that nothing's ever going to happen to you, which is why young people drive too fast, because they think, I'm never going to get into an accident, even though, young people are always getting into accidents. So the Hermit, it may be, don't think that you don't need to try the way a young person might, but understand that you're older and wiser, and you should maybe make use of the wisdom that you've gathered over the years. But that quote from Epictetus, maybe when the Hermit comes up, how am I going to get promotion? How are you going to get promotion? Are you ready for promotion? And maybe they'll say, I never thought of that, because I want it, but I'm not actually, if they came to me and said, okay, next week you're promoted, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I wouldn't be ready. So that's from the Hermit, from the tarot card, not from, from Aesop's fables, for instance, which are good, like the tortoise and the hare. You know, the hare sprints ahead and has a nap, and the tortoise, slow and steady, wins the race, overtakes him. So with the tarot, we're dealing with images, and this particular is the Rider deck. And it's being specific. The other thing is, you could, for instance, how am I going to get promotion? You get the Eight of Swords. How are you going to get it? Do nothing. Rather than try to look in the bright side, you look at the picture and say, okay, what can you do? Do nothing. And then there was a quote I came across, I think somebody put it at the end of an email, and it said, tactics is what you do when you can do something, and strategy is what you do when you can do nothing. So this individual, the Eight of Swords, really can do nothing. So what do? You strategize. You figure out long-term goals and how you're going to get there. And you're patient because you know that now is not the time for tactics, because there's really nothing you can do. So take the long-term view. And again, I think it's from the picture on the card, actually the picture on the Rider deck, which I said before. So what do? How do you begin a reading to get a good tarot reading? What you say to one thing you can do is say to the questioner, pick a number between 1 and 9 and tell me which one. And then you say to them, pick a number between 0 and 22 and tell me which one. So now you've got two major trumps you can deal with. 1 to 9 is followed by 10, gets you back to 1 again. So the numbers 1 through to 9 are kind of like basic. But also 0 to 22. 0 is the full, 22 is 0 is the full at the beginning of the sequence, 22 is the full at the end. Right, so sometimes hardly anybody will pick 22. So let's say you've got a woman and she picks 3 and 13. You begin the reading by saying, okay, you chose 3, which is the Empress, and you talk blah 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 about the Empress. You also choose the number 13, which is the Death card, which means blah blah blah. So you talk about what you see at that particular moment. So maybe you say, okay, you're the Empress, so you've got great potential. You can rise to a high position. You can control people. You're sociable, but Death really doesn't go with the Empress, because it shows there are changes coming up, or they need to leave certain things behind. Or maybe you begin with the Death card and say, if you're going through changes, the way to handle it best is to be like the Empress, who's sociable and friendly. And maybe the most important thing to know about how to handle change is make sure that you relax. Because the Empress, as you can see, is sitting on this couch out in the countryside, and it's pleasant and it's relaxing. So make sure when dealing with stress that you maybe every day or every couple of days, you deliberately and consciously relax. And that's how to handle it. So by picking or getting the questioner to pick the numbers, the conscious mind may not know the symbolism, but the subconscious mind knows. And you're going to pinpoint and start talking about something that the questioner has chosen, has started the ball rolling. And then you are using the tarot to explain and describe what's going on, what may come, what will come, the best thing to do, the best way to handle a situation. And it's going to bring up questions and maybe concerns that the questioner has at that moment. But you're going to be doing a tarot reading and not just offering good advice. That's it for the moment. I'll see you later. Goodbye.